the property development presentation. So the property working group consists of myself, Leonie, and Russell Harris. And Leonie, please come forward, even though you're on the computer. And Peter Coburn also is on that group, couldn't be here today. But we'll just need your attention, if that's okay, for about 10 minutes or so. And on your way out, you'll be able to pick up a handout if you haven't got one as well. We haven't got as much time for questions right now, but welcome to ask questions and discuss it over morning tea together. And then next week at 11:30 a.m, we'll have a special Q&A with our architect as well. So I'll just move to update you briefly where we're up to. So what's the whole idea of this? It's about serving God and his church and his gospel mission in this local area. As a church, we're really blessed with the resources and properties that we have, excellent facilities, and that includes not just here, but also resources through two other properties. One that's mainly been used as a kindergarten on Darcy Avenue, and then a landlocked tennis court on Rose Street. And we have looked at some different options of tenancy or development for those sites. But at the moment where it's sitting is with the diocese advice and in principle approval is the intention to sell those properties in the near future, maybe early next year. And because it's owned by the Anglican diocese, we will have to distribute some of the proceeds to them, but they're supportive of this concept at this stage of using quite a bit of the proceeds to help support improvement and mission through our main church site here. So we're wanting to improve our site for the future. So we've engaged Atelier Wagner Architects, and they've done an initial scheme design. So we're at this early stage and wanting to consult with you, our congregation and stakeholders in this place. And then in the short, near future, we want to then be able to go to a quantity surveyor so we have an idea of what this might cost us. And then it's after we get the costing, then we go, if it's all approved, we'll go back to the diocese, and seek their more formal approval for the whole process, and then that would then move to a more detailed design and then construction and so forth after that. So we're still at these very early stages, but want your input on these great pictures. But it's all about God's church, God's gospel going forth. There's not lots of other churches rising up in Sandringham, so we actually need either Christians to come in and plant and build up gospel ministry in this local area as people move in and the area grows, or we need places like All Souls to grow and be revitalised and renewed as signs of the renewal and resurrection life that God has. So that's what we're aiming for, to have an experience of renewal and growth in the future. So I'll hand over to Leonie to talk about some of it.
Good morning, everyone. Well, when we met with the architects, they said, hold on to your hats. So I'm going to say to you all, hold on to your hats. Here it comes. So our first slide is... You've gone backwards. There we go. There it is. So our church actually has a heritage overlay. It doesn't mean we can't do anything to the front of it, but it means that we have to be very sympathetic. If you look at that picture there, you'll see we have glass panelling across the front, which is going to create meeting rooms. There'll be meeting rooms for hospitality, like morning tea and breakfast. There'll be meeting rooms for parish council, staff meeting rooms, maybe life groups. And the aim of that is, this is a bit of a fortress. People walking past don't even know that the church is here. If we have those meeting rooms out the front, very visible, people will see we are a living church. They can see us, we can see them. And that is, it'll bring us a little bit forward to closer to Bay Road. I know a lot of people walk past and don't even realise the church is here. But this is so we can promote ourselves to people walking past, and they can see what's going on here. Can we just stay on that one for a minute, please? To the right of our existing front doors, you'll see there's a glass structure there. That will be a new reception and office area. It doesn't show it there, but there'll be access from that footpath straight in. So it'll be further up the front. There'll be a courtyard behind it, and that's only because we need the telcos need access to some equipment which is near the laneway. The laneway itself won't go right through to Bay Road. It will go past where you can go through to the op shop. There's a gate at the side, but then it will be blocked. And the old office and the old toilets will all be refurbished. So there'll be new male and female toilets, and an accessible toilet will all be in where the existing toilets are and the old office. Anything else? I think we can go to the next one now. Thank you. This would be the new entrance to the church, which will be this door over here. It will be quite distinct. People will be able to see it quite easily. And in front of here, instead of having like a driveway going through, that will be what a paved area with what the architects call a piazza. You will be able to, there'll be a very small driveway, but most of the time there'll be bollards, but they'll be removable. So if we have a funeral or a wedding, or perhaps occasionally if we need to be on a Sunday morning, we can remove the bollards so people can drive through, drop people off and keep going. But most of the time it will be closed, and that area will have seating, and there will also be, it's a cafe. So to the left side there, where the choir vestry and the vicar's vestry is, will be a church cafe with a small kitchen for tea and coffee. So that enables us to have our morning tea and breakfast in this new glassed area, and small food items. It initially will be for church use, but there is the possibility for commercial use, and there'll be outside tables where you can see that man sitting there, which would be a lovely spot to have your coffee in the winter time. What else have I got to say here? No, I think we can. These meeting rooms can be closed off, so there can be up to 3 of them, or you can have them. There'll be doors and things to make them smaller or larger as required. And that's the night shot. So it's just making us more visible and letting people see that things happen in here. Now, before we go to the next internal shot, I just thought I'd say, when I first looked at the plans, we saw the plans first and then we saw the pictures. And I saw the plans and saw that they had changed this area here to be facing a different way. And I thought, I hate it when churches do that. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is going to be awful. But then I saw the actual picture and I had to eat my words because I actually quite liked it. So, we will be facing south. There'll be a new sanctuary area over here. And what I think needs to be pointed out, especially it shows in this picture, we're respecting the old by not changing anything with the chapel or the sanctuary here, but we're looking to the future by having something that's quite different, quite bold, and quite modern. So that area there, it will encroach on the garden bed that's outside that particular wall, so that wall will go. The pillar here will go, which means those 2 lots of stained glass windows won't be there, but they will be reused elsewhere. And the architects are, because they've redesigned church buildings, have had this. They've done this before, so they know how they can reuse these windows. That area there is made up of glass bricks, so they won't be see-through. So you won't be able to see what's going on out in the garden, and people out in the garden won't be able to see what's going on necessarily in here, but it will be a diffused light, which is that there. We can also change it back to this way if we need to. So it gives us a lot of flexibility, and if we have a huge service, we can always use the narthex. The wall there will be changed slightly, so we're having sliding doors to make things a bit more, so if you're sitting out there you don't feel like you're sitting out the back. But it also can be closed off, so it can still be a crying room, and it's just a very versatile space out there. But yes, so we've got that flexibility of having it as we are now, or the other way. And you might want to know, well, why would you do that? Well, if you're standing up here and you're sitting in the back row, you're a very long way away, and there's this bit of a disconnect. And the same with the band being up here, it's a bit of a disconnect for people right at the back. But if we turn it to the side, that distance isn't as big. So there's a lot more connectivity, it creates a bit more of a communal feel, and we've just got a lot more flexibility. This area will seat 125, which is pretty much what we can do now. Next. So yeah, this is the back garden, so that's what it would look like from the back. You'll notice there are ramps to allow for disabled access, and there's sort of like a deck area that will come along and allow people to come through this door. So this door and this door are the main access points for the church. And that's it from another view. We're also looking at concreting the car park to make it easier as well to get through here. But yeah, we need to get all that costed, obviously. So there'll probably be priorities as to what needs to happen. I think that's it.
I think that's about it. And so maybe just bring up the plan, although it's a bit small there, but we've got this for you all to take home, and we're aware it actually takes a bit of time to absorb all this. It's a lot of information and looking at the plan. So feel free to ask questions as we have morning tea, but then you've got this week to kind of study it and ask questions as well, and to pray about it. But next Sunday at 11:30, our head architect, David, will be here, and so we'll have a sort of more structured time for Q&A and feedback, and just going into it a little bit more detail as well with some other questions. We genuinely want your feedback on this. A lot of these things they're not set or complete, and even some of those renders aren't accurate on where we're up to now. Russell's going to say something nice and loud so people can hear.
Parishioners came up with in January, and these are the sorts of things that people wanted done at the church. Now, what I'd like to think is that in the information that people had, that they reread these so they could see what the overall plan was. In other words, there were things that the church parishioners believe need doing. We have an opportunity for some money. We either do something about it or we leave it and we let the money just bypass us. Or we seriously look at these and say, well, is there any way we can accommodate these such that it fulfills the aim? Now, if we slightly modify an old line that when you're up to your midriff in alligators, you forget your aim was to drain the swamp. So in other words, what you do, there is an overall picture that we're looking at, and how can we accommodate these things? And this is an attempt to accommodate it. Now, it looks pretty radical in some ways, and it is fairly radical in some ways, but it is an attempt to use this building as best we can to fulfil these aims. Now, if we say that, well, we don't like this, then the question would be, how do you modify it in terms of fulfilling the aims? If you go back and say, well, we don't want those aims, well, that's a completely different story. So I'd like to think that people did take a huge amount of notice of the things that we believe that we need. Thanks, that's all.
Yeah, great. And one of the things was from that list was talking about we have that op shop side. So at this stage, it's not touching that. Really, our architect's feedback was, well, given we've got a certain scope and resources to fund this development, that could be a future thing if you wanted to do that down the track, but a separate thing where it'd be its own development there. But yeah, lots of different ticks in terms of that list of accessible and more visible, connected, using that great location and space there, flexibility, more communal options for seating as well. Yeah, and better engagement with the local area. And we've actually been back and forth with our architect about 3 times of sort of some tweaks and adjustments already. But yeah, that will be an ongoing process, certainly. But yeah, wanting to kind of get you engaged in especially those big picture items.
There was one thing I forgot, was the refurbishment of the kitchen. So the kitchen will get moved into, extended into Jeremy's office, and there'll be new, much more storage and cupboards and new appliances.
Yeah, we need that. So that's right. There's a lot of leaks that have been patched up in part of the roof there. So that needs a bit of redoing. So thank you for your engagement and look forward to the conversations over the next few weeks. But let's stand together. We've got these words of dismissal, of encouragement, sending out on mission. Go in peace to love, serve and share the Lord. In the name of Christ. Amen.